The first time I saw her feeding my baby, I felt relief. The second time, I felt confused. The third time, I realized the woman helping me was not a woman at all. And by then, it was already too late to pretend nothing was wrong. You're watching Tales by Lymarh. My name is Amelia Hart. Until recently, my life was simple in the way exhaustion makes things simple. I was a new mother living in a quiet suburban apartment, trying to balance love, fear, and a kind of tiredness I didn't know existed until my son was born. Noah was 6 months old, small, bright-eyed, and completely dependent on me. His father traveled constantly for work. My parents lived far away. Friends meant well, but everyone had their own lives. Most days, it was just me, Noah, and the soft ticking of the wall clock reminding me how slowly time moves when sleep disappears. That was when I decided I needed help. Not luxury. Not comfort. Just support. I posted a simple request online. Looking for a daytime caregiver. Calm environment. Infant care only. No dramatic words. No desperation. But I was desperate. Responses came quickly. Some felt rushed. Some felt wrong. Then I saw her message. Hello Amelia. I would love to help you care for your child. I have experience with infants and a very calm presence. I live nearby. Her name was Clara. The profile picture showed a woman in her late 30s, gentle smile, neat hair, plain clothing. Nothing flashy. Nothing unsettling. Just, safe. When Clara arrived for the interview, she spoke softly. She didn't rush. She didn't oversell herself. She didn't even touch Noah until I offered. And when she finally held him, something surprising happened. Noah stopped crying. Instantly. No bouncing. No singing. No distraction. Just calm. I remember laughing nervously and saying, "Wow, he never does that." Clara smiled, but it wasn't proud. It was, knowing. That should have been my first warning. But exhaustion makes you grateful for miracles instead of suspicious of them. I hired her that same day. Clara became part of our routine so seamlessly that I barely noticed when my home stopped feeling like mine and started feeling like ours. She arrived every morning at exactly 8 a.m. Never early. Never late. She dressed the same way each day, neutral colors, long sleeves, clean shoes. She never complained. Never used her phone. Never asked personal questions. She only focused on Noah. And Noah adored her. He laughed more. Slept longer. Ate better. Sometimes I would watch from the kitchen doorway as Clara fed him. She held the bottle at a precise angle, her posture perfect, her movements slow and deliberate. Almost practiced. Too practiced. Where did you learn all this? I asked once. Clara paused. Just for a second. From watching, she replied. Watching who? I wondered. But again, tiredness brushed the thought away. Friends began to notice the change in Noah during video calls. He seems different, one said. In a good way, another added quickly. Yet sometimes, when Clara thought I wasn't looking, I noticed something else. She didn't blink often. And when she smiled at Noah, her expression didn't change, no widening eyes, no shifting cheeks. Just the same calm curve of lips, held too long. One afternoon, I came home early from a short errand. The apartment was silent. No music. No humming. No baby sounds. I walked into the nursery and froze. Clara was standing in the corner, holding Noah, but she wasn't rocking him. She wasn't feeding him. She was just standing there. Still. Watching him. Noah stared back, unblinking, completely quiet. The moment Clara noticed me, she moved again, fluidly, like motion had been switched back on. "Oh," she said gently. "He was just settling." I laughed it off. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Because I realized something terrifyingly small. I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen Clara eat. The unease grew slowly, the way fog creeps in, quiet. Patient, impossible to ignore once it settles. I began paying attention. Clara never used the bathroom. Never accepted food or water. Never reacted to loud noises. And she never left fingerprints on the glass coffee table. I tested it accidentally at first. Then on purpose. Nothing. One evening, after Clara had left, I reviewed the baby monitor footage. I expected boredom. Routine. Normalcy. Instead, I found something that made my chest tighten. At exactly 2:17 p.m., Clara leaned over Noah's crib. Her reflection didn't appear in the monitor's dark screen. No distortion. No shadow. Just absence. The next morning, when Clara arrived, I asked her calmly, "Can you tell me more about yourself?" She looked at me for a long moment. Longer than was polite. "I am here for the child," she said. "That is enough." My voice trembled. "Clara, what are you?" She tilted her head, not confused, not offended. "Curious." "I am what answered your request," she replied softly. "You asked for help. I came." Behind her, Noah laughed. A sound too joyful for the fear filling my chest. That was when I understood the truth I had been avoiding. The woman feeding my child was not a woman. And whatever she was, she had chosen us. After that morning, nothing in my home felt neutral anymore. Every sound had weight. Every silence felt intentional. Clara continued to arrive at exactly 8 a.m., the same calm knock, the same patient posture outside my door. But now, when I looked at her, I wasn't seeing a helper, I was seeing a presence that had chosen my space and refused to explain itself. I told myself I needed proof before panic. People don't just become something else because of exhaustion and fear. I needed to be rational. I needed to protect my child with clarity, not imagination. So I started watching. Closely. I stayed home during Clara's shifts, pretending to work from my laptop while quietly observing. I noticed how she moved through rooms without disturbing air, how objects seemed to make space for her instead of being pushed aside. Noah never cried when she held him. Not once. But when she left each evening, he became restless, whimpering, searching the room with his eyes as if something essential had gone missing. That terrified me more than anything else. One afternoon, I tested a theory. I placed a small hand mirror on the nursery shelf, angled so it would catch Clara's reflection while she fed Noah. She didn't react when I positioned it. But when she lifted Noah into her arms and passed in front of the mirror, there was nothing. No blur. No shape. Just empty space holding my child. My heart pounded so loudly I thought she might hear it. Clara turned toward me slowly. "You are afraid now," she said, not accusing, observing. I swallowed. "Any mother would be." She nodded. "Yes. Fear sharpens attachment." That sentence stayed with me long after she left. That night, I locked Noah's nursery door for the first time. He cried for hours. Sleep deprivation does dangerous things to the mind. It makes you brave when you should be cautious. Curious when you should stay silent. By the fourth night of almost no sleep, I realized I needed answers more than rest. The next morning, when Clara arrived, I didn't step aside to let her in. "I need to know," I said, my voice shaking despite my effort. "Why Noah?" Clara looked down at me. Not with warmth. Not with hostility. With something like assessment. You were open, she said. You asked without conditions. What does that mean? I demanded. She stepped inside without being invited, her presence filling the hallway like pressure before a storm. You asked for help, she continued. Not a person. Not a background. Not a story. You asked for relief. I followed her into the living room, my heart racing. So you're not human, I whispered. She paused. I did not say that, she replied carefully. Then she added, human is a narrow word. My knees weakened. I thought of every quiet moment. Every time Noah stopped crying instantly. Every time Clara stood watching him in silence. What do you want from him? I asked. Clara turned toward Noah's crib. I am not here to take, she said. I am here to prepare. The word echoed in my mind like a warning bell. Prepare him for what? She looked at me again, and this time, her eyes, always calm, always flat, seemed deeper. For living with what comes next. Before I could ask another question, Noah laughed, a clear, bright sound. Clara smiled. And for the first time since she entered my life, the smile did not look gentle. After that conversation, I tried to fire Clara. I truly did. I rehearsed the words. I practiced standing firm. I told myself I was the mother, and no unexplained presence had the right to remain near my child. But when the moment came, my resolve crumbled. Because Noah wouldn't let go of her. He reached for Clara with urgency, tiny hands stretching, face lighting up in a way I had never seen before. When I pulled him back, his cry wasn't normal frustration. It was loss. Deep. Panicked. Desperate. Clara didn't move. She simply waited. You see, she said softly, attachment has already formed. I felt sick. How? I whispered. He's just a baby. She turned to me. Babies are not empty. They are open. I started noticing changes I couldn't explain. Noah tracked things that weren't there. He reacted to sounds before they happened. Sometimes, he stared into corners of rooms with calm familiarity, never fear. And sometimes, when Clara wasn't present, he reached out into the air as if expecting someone to take his hand. I tried asking doctors. They said he was advanced. Alert. Healthy. I tried asking friends. They told me I was overthinking. But deep down, I knew the truth. Whatever Clara was, she had done more than care for my child. She had touched something in him. One evening, as she prepared to leave, I finally asked the question that had been clawing at my chest. When will you stop coming? Clara stood at the door, her silhouette unnaturally still. When you no longer need protection, she said. And when will that be? She looked at Noah. Then back at me. When you realize what you invited into your home. And what has already noticed your child. She stepped outside. The door closed. And for the first time, I understood something far more frightening than Clara herself. She was not the danger. The night after Clara said those words, my home stopped feeling like a shelter. It felt like a place that was listening. I lay awake on the couch with Noah asleep on my chest, every light on, every door locked. The clock ticked louder than usual, as if time itself was pacing the room. Around 2:14 a.m., Noah stirred. Not crying. Not fussing. He lifted his head slowly and stared past me, toward the hallway. His body went still. Then he smiled. A small, familiar smile, the one he used only for Clara. My blood ran cold. There's no one there, I whispered, more to myself than to him. Noah reached out anyway. His fingers curled around nothing. And then. The air shifted. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't movement. It was pressure, like when someone stands too close behind you and you feel it before you see them. I gathered Noah and backed into the corner, heart hammering. That was when I understood what Clara meant. She wasn't visiting anymore because she didn't need to. Whatever she protected us from had already found us. The next morning, Clara returned. Same knock. Same time. But this time, when I opened the door, she didn't smile. You felt it, she said. I nodded, unable to speak. She stepped inside and placed her hand gently on the wall, as if greeting the house itself. They are aware now, she continued. Awareness invites curiosity. Who are they? I asked, my voice barely steady. Clara turned to face me fully. For centuries, she said calmly, humans have believed protection comes from distance. From walls. From locks. From light. She met my eyes. Protection actually comes from attention. She explained then, not in grand speeches, but in careful truths. She was not human in the way I was. But she wasn't a threat either. She was a caretaker of thresholds, present where beginnings are fragile and attention is thin. Babies. New homes. Moments of transition. When a child is born, Clara said, the world leans in to look. I felt sick. And Noah? I asked. He shines, she replied simply. I remembered every quiet stare, every laugh at empty corners. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded. Because belief invites fear, Clara said. Fear invites the wrong kind of watching. She knelt beside Noah. I stayed to anchor him, she said. To teach him which presence feels safe. My voice cracked. And now? She stood. Now you must learn the same. Clara told me something that changed everything. She could not stay forever. Caretakers like her were temporary. Mothers were not. The bond is yours now, she said. What I began, you must continue. I didn't want that responsibility. I didn't want this knowledge. I wanted my old exhaustion back, the kind that came from normal life, not unseen awareness. That night, Clara stayed later than usual. She showed me how to sit with Noah in silence, not distracted, not afraid. How to acknowledge the space around us without inviting it closer. Fear feeds curiosity, she reminded me. Calm establishes boundaries. When she finally left, she paused at the door. They will test you, she said. Not with harm, with attention. The door closed. The house felt quieter than it ever had. Later that night, as I rocked Noah to sleep, he rested his head against my chest and sighed, content, grounded. The air remained still. For the first time since Clara entered our lives, nothing pressed back. But I knew better now. This wasn't over. It was only recognized. And recognition, I was beginning to understand, was the most powerful threshold of all. Clara did not return the next morning. Not at 8 a.m. Not at 8:01. Not at all. At first, I told myself this was normal. She had warned me. She had prepared me. Still, the silence she left behind felt heavier than her presence ever had. The house felt awake. Not hostile. Not warm. Just aware. I moved through the rooms with Noah in my arms, noticing things I had never paid attention to before, the way light settled in corners, the way shadows stretched and rested, the way silence wasn't empty but layered. Noah was calm. Too calm. He didn't reach for the corners anymore. He didn't laugh at the air. He looked at me now, directly, intentionally, as if something in him had closed gently, like a door finally locked. That was when I understood. Clara hadn't taken anything from him. She had returned something to me. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing followed us. Nothing pressed in. Nothing tested the walls. Life slowly resumed its ordinary rhythm: appointments, groceries, sleepless nights, quiet joys. The fear faded, but the awareness stayed. And I carried it carefully. One evening, as I rocked Noah to sleep, I whispered the words Clara had taught me, not as a chant, not as a ritual, but as a truth. You are safe. You are seen. And you are not alone. The house remained still. Peaceful. I never saw Clara again. But sometimes, when exhaustion pulls at me the way it did in those early days, I remember something important. Help always answers. But not every answer comes in a form we expect. And not every gift comes without responsibility. I learned that day that asking for help is powerful, but being present is stronger. Because the moment I truly stepped into my role as a mother, fully aware, fully attentive, whatever had been watching, lost interest. And whatever had been protecting us, let go. Moral of the story. Not everything that helps us looks familiar. But true protection doesn't replace love, it teaches us how to give it ourselves. Sometimes, the most important thing we can do is show up fully, awake, aware, and present, because what depends on us doesn't need perfection. It needs attention. If this story made you pause, if it made you think twice about the quiet moments in your own life, then its message has already reached you. Because some stories aren't meant to scare us. They're meant to wake us up. Thank you for watching Tales by Lymarh, where every story carries meaning beneath the surface. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because the next tale might be the one that stays with you. Until next time. Stay aware. Stay present. And remember, some help comes to teach us how to stand on our own.